Hello, welcome to Davo Loves Tacos. I'm Dr. Good, and this is my YouTube channel where I share recipes from Manna in Lubbock from years ago, and King Street Pub and Queen of Tarts Bakery. Also, a few of my daughter Sarah's recipes might appear on here a time or two, and some of just of my own creations over the years that you probably won't find on the internet in these exact forms. So a couple days ago, we did the part 1 of the coconut cake recipe. That was all the recipes. There were 5 components, and today we're just going to assemble it. And then the recipe components are all in part 1. And this is just the assembly part. And for this particular recipe, I will not be including a link. Instead, you are welcome to email me and I will mail you a paper copy. But otherwise, everything is in the first part of the coconut cake, part 1, that video. So today we're going to start with 3 frozen cake layers. And I explained why that's important in the first part. And I had the parchment paper on the bottom. See how easily that came off? And then I usually put a dab of frosting on the board. I'm just using one of these cake boards that you can get at Hobby Lobby or Walmart. And so first layer is down. I'm going to now drizzle on, this is the rum syrup. And you have 2 other options other than the rum syrup that are on in the first video. It kind of explains why we went away from the rum syrup, but this is the rum syrup is the original syrup that we put between the layers in our very first version of the coconut cake. It's been through several versions, so I'm just drizzling this on. I'm not gonna even bother spreading it around because the frosting will do that. So if you make everything in advance, like I suggest that you do, and you refrigerate that syrup, it might get kind of crystallized on you. Just pop it in the microwave and melt it again. So I've got the first layer on, and I'm just putting enough frosting in between to glue it together. I am not trying to create a frosting layer. This is a rather heavy cake. And the frosting, if you try to create a nice thick layer of frosting, it just ends up getting squished out on the side, so we don't even mess with that. So nice and flat here. I'm going to do some more of the almond syrup. This is one of the secret ingredients that helps keep this cake super moist. It just adds another layer of flavor. It kind of melts down into the cake, and if you don't use it, you'll miss it. Just another thin layer of frosting to glue it together. I don't even worry too much about going all the way out to the edge. These, when I freeze these, I don't even do anything but spray them with Pam after they have the parchment paper on the bottom. It just peels off really easily, and I think this one I'm going to put the dome side up. That was my 3rd layer. You can already see it's already about 6 inches tall. I'm going to use you might have a little syrup left over. I'll be using up almost all of it. And then I'm just going to put a thin layer of frosting on the top here, and then before I frost the sides. Comes together really fast. As I mentioned in that first video, you can, once you have finished the whole cake, you can freeze the whole thing. Just wrap it really well. You know, nothing will stick. Once it has the coconut all over it, nothing sticks to it. So I use a pie server. For an offset spatula is what most people use. I have just used this exact same one so much over the years. I'm accustomed to it. So just get the frosting on any way you can. You're probably going to have a little bit of frosting left over. I left some out because I am going to pipe an edge around it. But don't worry about the frosting, what it looks like too much, because it's going to be covered up with coconut. One of the nice things about this cake. You do want to get it all the way to the bottom so that the coconut does cover the whole cake. But if you've never frozen your cake layers before frosting them, you will notice how much easier it is. I'm having no issues with crumbs at all. It's just going on really smooth. And I also, if you've ever noticed professional cake decorators, there's a certain way they kind of go back and forth like I'm doing here. They don't lift their spatula up except at an angle. If you try to pull it straight up off the cake, you end up with crumbs coming off with it. So almost all the way around here. I think having too much frosting is a much better option than not having enough frosting. That's very frustrating to get almost to the end of your cake and realize you're going to run out of frosting. And this cake, once it starts thawing, it does kind of settle down a little bit, but it shouldn't affect the appearance much. I'm just going around it one more time to try to get the frosting all the way to the bottom so that that coconut will stick all the way down. So this is what it looks like before the coconut. See, it's pretty even. I put my coconut in a bowl for easy access, and I'm going to start on the sides, and I'm just going to press it on. A lot is going to fall off, but we're going to dust that off later with a paper towel. So just grab you some handfuls, start patting it on up the sides like that. We'll save the top for last. And in the first video, I had suggested that if your coconut feels really dry after you've baked it, that you might want to add some water back in. And we did that. I showed you how you just kind of sprinkle 6 or 8 tablespoons on. If you don't do that, if your coconut's super dry, you know what it'll do is draw moisture out of the cake. That coconut wants that moisture. It's just super absorbent. So you're better off just adding it back in before you even put it on the cake. We will have a little bit of coconut left over, but that's okay. Use it for something else. Make some granola with it maybe. Or one of my favorite things in the world, peanut butter banana toast with toasted coconut on it. So good in the morning. Okay, I've gone all the way around. As you can see, I have quite a bit of coconut left, but that's okay. I'm going to make sure every inch is covered. For one thing, when you go to, if you're going to freeze it or wrap it and take it somewhere, the coconut won't stick to the saran wrap, but the frosting definitely will. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Clean this off. If you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Davo Loves Tacos, you'll never miss the recipes. Most of the time I provide a link to a written recipe in the comments, and some of the earlier videos I show the recipe at the end, but they're kind of hard to see. This particular one, I actually list out the ingredients in the first video, so if you would just want to grab a pen and paper and write it down as you go, it is one of the longer videos. But this cake has 5 components, so you don't want to miss any of those components. So I've got just a little bit here. I'm going to pipe around the bottom. You don't have to do this. You don't need to do it. People don't expect it, but if you like to, it does add just a kind of that nice finished bakery touch. And I've done this a lot. I've worked in bakeries on and off almost my whole life, so this is easy for me, but it honestly doesn't take much practice. There it is. It's heavy. It weighs more than 10 pounds. I can tell you that right now. Kind of afraid to put it on this. But you can top it now with, we topped them with lemon slices when we sold them whole at the bakery, at the restaurant. But today I've got some really pretty flowers just from my garden. We live in a part of the country now where roses bloom year round, so I'm just going to put some of these on here. Pretty sad. Thanks for watching. Bye.